Hey guys, in this video I'm going to attempt to illustrate why DJs and music producers get in pain. So let's just start by drawing a graph here, and I think this should be a little easier than just me talking about it. So all pain is pretty much mediated by your nervous system. So none of your tissues itself really cause pain. Your muscles don't cause pain, your bones cause pain. It's really all your central nervous system, which is your spinal cord and your brain. All pain is sort of mediated by those structures. So if we look at a graph here, and we'll call this time, and we'll just call this your nervous system. The handwriting's horrible. So that's your nervous system on the y-axis, time on the x-axis. Okay, so I think the best way to illustrate this is that you have a threshold where you start to feel pain, and we're going to illustrate that using this right here. Okay, so it's a little weird because producing music isn't exactly a strenuous activity, but why do music producers get pain then if it's not even strenuous? Well, the answer is that your body doesn't really like prolonged positions, and when you're producing music, or even when you're DJing and you're on stage, you tend to get into this posture where it tends to be forward. And so if we take that, let's say you're producing music for a couple hours. All right, your nervous system is going to be pretty low. I mean, it's not going to be real irritated at that point, so you're not going to get any pain. Okay, you only get pain if you go past this threshold here. But let's say you have a real long bender, you're really trying to get a solid track done, you're like pulling an all-nighter, and let's say you spend like, I don't know, a crazy amount of time, like 4 or 5 hours on a track. Well, your nervous system is going to get a little bit more ramped up. Now, you still haven't hit that threshold, so even if you do that crazy long amount of time producing music or DJing, if you have a super long set, you're still not going to get pain because you haven't hit that threshold yet. But you are closer to it now. So now you have sort of less wiggle room. And so as you kind of move around and you get out of those prolonged postures, your nervous system will calm back down. But let's say you immediately do another incredibly long production session. And let's say you do just so much that you finally hit that threshold. Well, once it's above that, that is when you start to get that's supposed to be a lightning bolt. That is when you get the pain. So anything above here, see now if you're living above here and you're still producing your music and you're at this spot, it's going to be painful. You're going to feel back pain, you're going to feel neck pain, hip pain, shoulder pain. I mean, it could really be anywhere. I find that back and neck are probably the most common. Now, if you're in this stage and you get out of it, you start walking around, it could easily dip back below and then you won't feel pain anymore. But what can happen is that if you don't move around, you don't give your body enough rest, and you continue to put it through those prolonged postures, something even worse can happen than living up here. So what can happen is that your threshold, if you are in those postures for a long period of time and you're above that threshold of pain, if you're above that threshold of pain for a really long period of time, your threshold actually gets lower. So now it takes less effort or less lengths of time for you to start to feel pain. So now let's say you're like up here, you've produced music for a period of time, say an hour, and then you take, I'll tell you what, let me quickly erase some of this. So let's say that you are here, you produce some music, and now you're feeling some pain, okay? You've done a really long session, and then you take a break. All right, so you go, you walk around, maybe do a little bit of exercise, some meditation, all right? But then you do another production session. You're like, hey, I need to do the mix, I need to do some mastering. Well, now you've never really left that zone. So you're still feeling pain, and it's just getting worse, because as it climbs above this pain threshold, your pain is going to get worse. And so now it takes longer to get out of pain, all right? And so as you continue along this path, you can see how it can just get into this vicious cycle where if you don't take care of the issue and you keep spending time, you're going to be at a point to where pretty much any time you're in a prolonged position, you're always going to be above that pain threshold. But the good news is that it doesn't have to be, it's not permanent. So there are things that you can do to raise this pain threshold. All right, so I mean, I'm really making this drastic, but each little thing that you do is going to help decrease pain. So first, so let me again erase this. So let's say you're like, okay, I'm tired of being in pain. This has been going on for months, maybe even years. I'm ready to get rid of this. So let's say you're chilling up here. This is kind of like your new baseline. Let's say you start to incorporate exercise. Okay, that's going to decrease things a little bit. You might still feel pain, but it's not as bad. All right. Now, let's say you incorporate maybe a little bit of mental fitness, like maybe some meditation. All right. That again is going to decrease it more. You're still feeling pain, but now it's just like it's just kind of like a dull ache. Now, let's say you decrease it even more. Let's say you implement good sleep habits. You apply some stress reduction techniques. You do journaling, right? You do all of that. You're finally below the pain threshold now. So this is where the magic happens. So the more you apply those strategies, so the more you apply exercise, diet, meditation, and it doesn't have to be these things specifically, but they do help. The more you apply stuff like this, the more you're going to decrease your nervous system response. And so the longer that you're here, now what tends to happen is your threshold will actually start to increase, all right? So maybe it'll start here. And then after you do a lot of exercise, and or not a lot in terms of like, doing 3 hours of exercise, but a lot in terms of you've been consistent, well, now maybe your threshold's up here again, all right? And so now, anytime you produce music, okay, and I'm not saying producing music necessarily causes pain, but being in any sort of prolonged position, let's say, all right, you produce a little music, okay, well now I'm gonna exercise, all right? So that's gonna take it down. You produce a little more, your diet's in check, so it goes down. So basically, anytime you're in some sort of a prolonged position or anything that causes pain, it's gonna ramp it up. But if you can implement strategies such as these, exercise, diet, meditation, journaling, proper sleep habits, then your threshold will be very high so that your likelihood of getting pain is going to be you probably won't get it. And so that's really the main reason why music producers and DJs get pain. It doesn't really have to do with necessarily your muscles being tight. It doesn't necessarily have to do with your bones or joints. Okay, it all has to do with your nervous system. And the more that you can pilot your nervous system to have a high threshold of pain, and by implementing strategies to keep your nervous system response low, for lack of a better word, then the less likely chance you're going to get pain. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you. And this is kind of the whole pain science topic can be a little bit complicated, or actually incredibly complicated. But I hope that I at least made this a little bit more digestible for you. And if you do have any questions, just drop them in the comments and I can try to answer them for you. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you loved it and you want to see more videos like this, then definitely hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.